child can receive in this world is an effective parent. When you go to the Nguzo Saba, those 7 principles, that could be the foundation for any community, not just an African community, but for any community. Because the first principle says unity. We have no unity in the black community, none whatsoever. Not among church members, and the gangs get their attitude and spirit from the disorganization among the church. One religion against another. You got one gang against another. This whole country was built by crooks and criminals, and the crooks and criminals still control it. If you follow the Nguzo Saba, there's no place for a crook or a criminal. You have to be faithful to your community, loyal to your community, and you can't do that following the Nguzo Saba. Organization, this country is organized based on criminality. It's a crimogenic society. When I look at how the White House is run, and just think about it. Here's a country that said you should love your enemy. America has 130 military bases spread out across the world. There are 192 countries, but they have 130 military bases in 130 different countries. They don't love nobody. They don't even trust them, let alone love them. Stealing resources from other countries. It said, thou shalt not steal. America steals from everybody. They stole us and brought us over here. They go back and steal from the Africans the resources that are still there. First they stole the labor, now they're stealing the resources. This is the kind of country we live in. We can't use America as a model for hardly anything. We got to go back to those 7 principles. If we want to build a society that's going to be non-toxic to our people and non-toxic to the world.
And you say much of this confusion comes out of the church?
Yes. Yes. I was in a meeting yesterday as a youth and doing libation. And this woman, this looked like a white woman. She said she was a white Puerto Rican or whatever it means. Gave me a flyer about nonviolence and said, oh, I love the libation. And she said, I'm with the peace and justice and we teach nonviolence. In this world, you can't teach nonviolence to black people. Tamir Rice was nonviolent, he got murdered. Michael Brown was nonviolent, he got assassinated. Eric Garner was nonviolent, he got choked to death. When our people are nonviolent, they meet the consequences of being nonviolent. We can't turn the cheek for everybody. Some people you got to knock their head off to make them understand we are people too. If you come at me the wrong way, you're gonna die. I got a right to defend myself. Even if you're a police officer and I haven't done anything, I got a right to defend myself. African countries take that same attitude. That we can't defeat America, so we're gonna be nonviolent in the face of a colonial power coming to overtake us. We can't do that. So Gaddafi had the right message. Let's join Africa together. And let's come against these colonial powers and take our own resources and sell them to the world. Not you sell them for us, or you rob us of our resources. Let's come together and make it happen. Nkrumah was trying to develop nuclear capacity before he was assassinated. We got to do that. America is where it is. 5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prisoners, and most of the world's wealth is right in this country. They didn't take it by saying, I love you. They took it by saying, I'm going to kill you.
Well, you hear that kind of language just about every day when you look at the TV screen, when you hear Cruz and all of the rest of them, we will kill you.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear that on TV.
It's answering all of American problems. You kill it.
I think I may have heard one of them say that this morning on TV. But Jeffrey, in terms of the school system again, in terms of the balance in the school system, should there be a balance? In other words, sometimes you may have 40 or 50 students, one instructor, and many of them are white ladies. And Kunjufu is saying maybe 25, and perhaps the instructor should be a male role model. I think is what we've said, male role model, because students, especially boys, tend to do what they see their instructors do, and I think we pointed that out earlier. So say something about the inner workings of the classroom.
Definitely.
If we were to overturn this entire thing, would we interpolate that element in that manner, Jeffrey?
Well, we're still dealing with the education. When we're still dealing with an educational system that is teaching lies. You know, it doesn't matter how big or small the classroom is. Okay. It's the curriculum. But once we handle that and we start back teaching truth and teaching and educating our kids the way that we're supposed to. Yes, of course, size of the classroom matters, because whoever that instructor is, has to be able to show interest in each one of those students, and it's hard to do that when the classrooms are overcrowded. And that is currently another problem with the current school system. May I point out, our classrooms are overcrowded, and not only that, when you looking at balance, as me and Lonnie have stated, the majority of our teachers don't look like us. In fact, they are the direct opposite from us. They're not only not male, they are female, and they don't look like us. They're not African American or black, they're white. So that's something that is definitely needs to be changed. We need more black men to stand up and fill that role. That is imperative. You see, because once you have black men to stand up and fill that role, they're going to be able to speak from the experience of coming from an educational system that they knew really didn't care about them. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to be able to value those black children a whole lot more than those who don't care about us.
I like that you said caring about them. Someone who cares about them, perhaps our students can sense that. The caring and the love is not there.
Oh, you hear them all the time in the classroom and in school talking about they know that these teachers really don't care about them.
Okay.
So that's not a question. The actual student, maybe ask your students who are in school, do they feel that their teachers care about them? You might be shocked as to what they say.
Okay. I hear often that from someone who works in the present school system, and Talu, should the instructors be a part, live among, and that they work only for a paycheck, they as in the instructors, and can't wait to head out to wherever it is, as far away from the school system that they can get? Is that what we're... And while you're to say something about the development of communication skills for young black boys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, before I make any comments along those lines, I'm just going to say this. A gambler really wants to lose, and a fool really wants to die.
Okay.
Okay. So, in that, we have a future. And we have to see things in perspective to our future. And I hardly ever hear anybody talk about the future. Everybody's talking about, and have been talking about, the past. We were great. We were king. We were queen. It was just this past tense communication, right? Okay, well, we have to deal with the future. Okay, I mean, civilized, intelligent, true, productive people deal with the future. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have to get around to doing that. And your question was, what? The first question?
Well, should the instructors, teachers, live in the community where they teach and not be in a hurry to head out to wherever? Well, you see them flying somewhere.
I don't think that makes a difference.
Okay.
It doesn't make a difference where the instructors live. Okay. The system is set up for our failure. So they can live in the neighborhood, we're going to fail. They can live outside the neighborhood, we're going to fail. Okay, so it doesn't make it a difference. Our thing should be to create a new school system that's primarily focused about Black Americans' future. And that's it. Okay, now, in other words, you've heard the old saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, the point is, most of our educators, most of our leaders, most of our ministers, and all people who come out of the old world, they've been affected by colonization. Okay, all of them. They all want the same thing. They want to get a good job. They want to buy a house. They want a new car. And they want to get some new clothes. That's all, everybody. Everybody have, so it doesn't make any difference. You can't change this system by turning to the same people who are primarily Caucasian minded who happen to be black and want a solution. They have no solution. Okay, we have to change our way of thinking. We have to think in terms of where do we want to be in the future. Now, the second question that you asked.
Well, I was asking about the development of communication skills.
Yeah, communication skills. Well,
Yes.
my thing about communication skills is really simple. If you say something to me and you use broken English and all that other kind of stuff, if I can understand it, we successfully communicated. Now, if you want me to apply the corporate principle by which I have to have certain skills to work in a corporation doing a specific job, that's one thing. Okay? Now, our problem is this. Our problem is that we speak only one language. Just one. Everybody else in America are multilingualistic. We're the only ones that speak only one language. And we criticize each other in how that language is spoken. One of the best things that we could possibly have done as a people years ago, when it was on the table, my goodness, thought lost. But if we are able to learn a different language, English would not be that important to us, like it is to many other people who migrate to America. English is not that important to them. It's only important to us because it's our only language, and we want each and every male to be efficient and proficient in it. We apply such pressure on ourselves about the English language until we actually demand that every word of English is spoken correctly, and we should know every word in the English language. If a person uses a word in communicating and the other person doesn't understand the word, we feel ashamed to say, well, I don't know what that word means. We actually believe that we should have knowledge of every word in the dictionary. And that's insane. It's crazy.
We're down
I
to
said that twice.
You said it twice, yeah. And that's why it's time to move on to the next, make the transition. We're down to 7 minutes. And the reason I raised that question, Lonnie, is because I've actually, not on one or two occasions, but on many occasions, been among African Americans, especially males, some females, and I've got to say, I almost did not understand what they were saying. And I fathomed myself in being able to comprehend. I also fathomed myself in being able to speak the various and use the various accents and dialogues and understand the slang. So, and yes, we can shift and change and make transitions and speak to whatever group or audience we're speaking to. But how important is it to not necessarily be in love with any particular language, but to be able to effectively communicate, to effectively get your point across, to effectively debate, to effectively do public speaking going forward for African American males, because something, I'm going to say this and stop and let you address that issue. A lot of this miscommunication over some petty issues can cause some great violent problems. Go ahead, Lonnie. We're down to, it's 2:54. What does that leave us? 6 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
Well, okay. I just want to bring up a good point where, yes, communication is important. One reason why is because we're using our oppressor's language. Like the brother said, we only know this one language. So if we don't fully know this language, they can speak to us about us, and we don't understand what they can speak in code. We don't understand it. And it is important for us to be able to understand each other, and we can't be caught up on proper English or whatever, because from what I understand, first of all, they didn't want us to learn this language anyway. And how we started to learn that this language was through poor white slave owners or whatever. And I heard that language was broken as well, you know, so we can't get caught up on how proper you sound or whatever, as long as we effectively, like the brother said, you understand what I just said, whether we speaking in code or not, you know, as long as you understand, then it's done, you know, so, but, yeah, proper communication, but I feel that it's important that, you know, we not only master this language so we won't be confused and, you know, like, they can get on the media and use these terminologies you probably never heard of. But once we study and do the etymology of these words and the origin, we will find then that they stole those words. The ideas is not theirs, you know. So, you know, the phonetics about the words may change, the sounding or whatever, but the meaning, they didn't create that. It was the origin before that. Once we understand the origin, then we'll be like, what? I am a king, you know, I am powerful. My people, my ancestors are powerful. So, yeah, I think that is important for us to know that.
Okay. Omar, we know some of the brothers in the Nation of Islam fathom themselves as having what? Silver tongues. How important is it to be able to effectively communicate for African American men? How important is it?
You know, it's not.
We're down to 3 minutes, Omar.
You hit the nail on the head. It's not the silver tongue, it's the effective communication. Our people are lost. And you got to have somebody that can put a word in them that will convict them and make them stand up and do something about their condition.
Okay.
And so you got to speak the language of the people. Even if it's slang, you got to speak their language so they'll understand that message and get up and do something for themselves. The oppressor is still coming. He has never relented.
Brent, you're saying the key word is effective. Effectively communicate.
Yes.
Now, we're down. We're almost out of time. We have 2 minutes. I don't know if we can get these in. Let's try. Let's go for it. The success or failure rate, should it be based on one's actual experiences and how we examine our life? And we talked about how we come up with a plan, a key word again, effective plan that we've devised based on our knowledge, skills, and experience. Omar?
What kind of failure?
Hmm?
Is it the failure?
Success or failure. Now, I wasn't putting it on, I'm just saying one is a failure, for instance, with or without a plan, or successful with or without one.
You know, I do a prison ministry, and I put together a questionnaire for the inmates, because when I heard the warden say that there's a 70% recidivism rate, and he looked at me and looked at the people they threw at the back of the audience, about 100 and some brothers sitting there. He said, if I got 100 of these guys out today, he said within 18 months, they'd be back in here. And I got to thinking, why would they come back to this place? This is not home. They're away from home. And then I started thinking, they don't have a plan of how they can go home and stay home. They need a plan. Just like you need a business plan to be successful in business, you need a home plan to make yourself go home and stay home. Because you're going to get out of here, you're going to serve your time and go home, but how do you stay home? And without a plan, it's not going to happen. They don't have a plan on how they're going to feed themselves, clothe themselves, how they're going to transport themselves, how they're going to make money so they can take care of their daily needs. There is no plan. Black folks need a plan on how they're going to escape this system we got in America. Now, Elijah Muhammad gave us the best plan. Give us 8 or 9 states, and give us the reparations you owe us, kiss us goodbye, we'll kiss you goodbye. That's the plan. It's on the back of the Found Column newspaper. We need to follow that plan.
Okay. Look, we need to close it right there. We're right at 3 o'clock, but I want to thank everyone for coming out. And perhaps next week we'll talk more about planning. And
we talk about separation and reparation.
Okay, we'll talk more about that. We've come to the end of another good show. We thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll talk more next week about planning and communicating effectively. Love power. And it looks like we're going to start with you again next week.
All right.
All right.
I'll be ready.